This training on the UN Systems HIV Post-Exposure Prophylaxis Kit program is for stakeholders involved with the UN Systems Global HIV PEP Kit program. Let's get started. To access the UN HIV PEP Kit program dashboard, you will first go to the HR portal. The URL for that is hr.un.org. And you will hover over the Health and Wellbeing tab and move your cursor down to the HIV and PEP Kit title and click on that. This takes you to the section of the HR portal that caters to the UN HIV program, and there's a lot of useful information on this page. Scrolling down on the page, you will get to the HIV PEP Frequently Asked Questions section, where you will find a link to the UN Systems HIV PEP Kit Program Interactive Dashboard. The first time you click the link, you might see a Power BI sign-in button in the center of the page. All you have to do is click the link and it'll direct you through to the HIV PEP Kit program dashboard if you have access to the space where the dashboard is located. The dashboard consists of 8 pages. The pages can be navigated using the tabs on the top, or for traditional Power BI users, you can scroll down to the bottom of the dashboard and you will see the tabs with the page names on them, and you can use these as well. The first page on the dashboard provides a snapshot of how many kits have been used by year, by entity, and by country. The information on this page is obtained by the submitted custodian, patient, and physician forms. You can use the calendar and drop-down filters on the left of the screen to obtain the information that meets your needs. For example, if you would like to see how many PEP kits have been used from the first form that was submitted all the way to the end of 2022, all you would do is potentially come to the calendar filter, select the calendar, and go back to the end of last year, which would be December 2022, and click the last date of the year, and the information on the dashboard will update across all pages to reflect your choice. If I wanted to reset my selection back to the original date, then I could go back to the calendar and just go back and click on the date that I was originally at, and it would update back to where it was before. Alternatively, I could enter the dates I need directly into the field, and the same effect would occur. As follows. And to take it back to where we were before, we just go back and enter the original date for on again, and as you can see, the visual is updating almost in real time. If I wanted to go ahead and select a particular entity, then I would go ahead and go to the drop down with the entities and make my selection. For example, if I was going to select MINUSCA, all the visuals would update with MINUSCA, and if I deselect it, I reset it back to my original choice. I could alternatively go back and type it in the text field, MINUSCA, and select it from there. However, if I do filter by entering the text in the search box, I'll have to make sure that I clear the search box when I deselect the field so that all the original entries in the drop-down reappear. That's important to remember. The peacekeeping political mission filter is a cascading filter, which means it has disaggregated entries under each of these main subheadings. So if I'm interested in all the entities and all the kits used by all peacekeeping entities, I'd go ahead and select that and the visuals will update. However, if I wanted to know how many kits were selected from a specific or a group of specific peacekeeping entities, then I would go ahead and click on the arrow, and then there would be a subcategory consisting of only the peacekeeping entities, and I can go ahead and select them from there. Once again, I would make sure just to deselect my choice to go back to my original entry. So all the rest of the entries are regular drop-down entries, and you could just go ahead, for example, age range. If I want to know how many kits have been used by individuals between the age of 20 and 29, then if I'd go ahead and just make that choice, then all the visuals would update. One thing that I would like to mention at this point is these filters are linked across all the pages. So if you make a particular selection on one page, you don't have to go ahead and make it on all other pages that you're interested in. And when you reset a particular page, it resets across all pages as well. An interesting thing to note is also that for the usage of kits by year, there's also an ability to drill down into the number of kits used by month. And how I did that was I just went up to, I clicked on the visual, and these icons appeared, and I went ahead and clicked on the one that goes down one hierarchical level where I can drill down by month. And if I want to see more of this, then I can go and enter the focus mode by going to the icon that looks like an arrow, like that points to a pop-up screen. And if I go ahead and click that, then I can see that how many kits have been used by month. And this is very useful if you want to potentially make a presentation or to use this for a report. You can go ahead and then copy this focus mode visual and paste it into a different application like PowerPoint, which is something that is pretty common when you're doing presentations. To go back to the report, all I have to do is click on back to the report, and I go back to the initial page, and I can drill back up to reset the visuals. So that's the usage page. Let's go ahead and move on to the patient profile page by clicking the tab on the top. This page provides a snapshot of who is using the PEP kits. It's important to emphasize that all information in the HIV PEP kit program dashboard is de-identified and aggregated to a level where it is not possible to determine the individual PEP kit users. You can go ahead and once again use the filters on the left to select the information that you need based on your purposes. In this case, if I want to determine usage by a particular country, I can go ahead and determine whether the patients who are using the PEP kits in Brazil, the percentage who are in peacekeeping or political missions, the percentage or the breakdown by gender, male or female, their contract status and age. And once again, I'm just going to deselect that to reset all the visuals back to original. I can go ahead and determine once again, just based on a particular age range, who are using the PEP kits within the age range of 20 to 29, based on whether they're peacekeeping or political missions, the breakdown related to gender, their contract status. And once again, because I selected 20 to 29, that's the only bar that appears for patient age. And to reset that, I would go ahead and deselect that, and it would go back to the original page. So that's it for the patient profile page. You can go ahead and once again just use any one of the filters to break down your data as you need to. And if you want to prepare for a presentation, you can go ahead and just hover over the data. You'll see the focus mode button once again. And for example, here, if I want to know, I go ahead and click on the focus mode, and it expands the visual for gender. And I can go ahead and copy the image and paste it to whatever presentation app that I'm using. And to go back to the report, I just click back to the report. An important feature also, if you want to show this data, the actual raw data, you can go ahead and click the three ellipses here on the top left, and we'll give you the option to show the data as a table. And in that case, you would get the breakdown of information that is visualized up here from the dashboard. Let's go back to the report. Let's move on to the patient education page by clicking its tab on the top. This page provides a snapshot of the patient's expression of their usage reasons, as well as whether the doctor provided antiretroviral usage instructions and other forms of education and other antiretroviral topics. You can go ahead and once again use the filters on the left, just like we saw on previous pages, to select, for example, what type of information is applicable to peacekeepers by selecting the overall category on the cascading filter. And if we deselect that, we go back to our original visuals, and you can go ahead and once again use the focus modes by hovering over each visual or selecting the ellipses if you want to show the data as a table. Let's move on to the page on exposure by clicking its tab on the top. This page provides information of whether the kit was administered within 72 hours of exposure, which is important for the effectiveness of the treatment, as well as the category of exposure overall, whether it was non-occupational or occupational, and then the type of exposure within each category. Once again, we can use the filters on the left of the screen to go ahead and determine, for example, between a particular age range, how do the visuals change to reflect that, and just by deselecting the age range, we can reset the visual. Or if we want to go ahead and look at how this information changes by gender, we can go ahead and select a particular gender, and the information will adjust to select the information as applicable to males. Let's reset that by deselecting males. Let's move on to the custodians page by selecting the custodians tab on the top. This page provides a snapshot of the number of custodians that are assigned the responsibility to distribute the PEP kits to their mission at the mission level. It shows their gender, the organizations they represent, and the countries where they are located. To determine the number of active custodians at any one time, you want to go to the status drop-down menu and select those who are active. The visuals update to reflect that, and then you can deselect to reset the visuals to include both those active and those who are no longer assigned the responsibility to distribute PEP kits within their organizations. The information in this custodians page does not come from the patient, custodian, or physician-patient forms. It's directly reported by the HIV PEP focal points based on information collected from the custodians. Let's move on to the administration page. This page provides a snapshot of administrative details of the program. The information on this page is reported at the aggregate level from the missions. You have information on the total number of PEP kits for each program cycle, the countries that they were delivered to, and the amount that remained unused. Just to review, if you want to go ahead and prepare a particular visual for a presentation, you can go ahead and hover over a visual and select the focus mode. If you click that, the overall visual appears, and you can copy the image and paste it to a presentation application that you're using. And to go back to the report, you just click back to the report. If you want to view the table information that the visual is using, you can go ahead and click on the three ellipses under the More Options heading and Show as Table, and you'll get this information in a table form that is then visualized in the visual. Let's go back to the report. Finally, let's go to the last page of the dashboard, which is a Q&A page, which we can get to by clicking the Q&A tab at the top. This page provides other cuts of the data that are not visualized in the main dashboard by entering text in the field that says ask a question about your data. For example, if you want to see exposure, non-occupational exposure in this instance, by age range, this would provide the relevant visual. That's a brief overview of the UN System's HIV PEP kit program dashboard. The information depends a lot on the timeliness and accuracy of reporting by custodians and physicians of the patient, custodian, and reporting forms. For any questions, please contact us at dos-dmosh, dhmosh-hiv@un.org. Thank you.